Happy Halloween, my spooky companions. It is officially that day. It is Halloween. Well, by the time you guys are seeing this, it will be Friday, October 31st, Halloween, the happiest day of the year for me. I'm sorry, I cannot contain the fact that I am a complete and utter dork for Halloween. Welcome. If you are new here, we make things, and I'm dorky. Something that you guys don't know about me is that I'm a Barbie collector. I started collecting Barbies as a little kid, and very quickly started appreciating them as display pieces and collector's items. And I had all of the holiday Barbies, and especially got my favorite movie character interpretations of Barbies. I stopped collecting around the same time I had my daughter Bay, because honestly my life became a different set of priorities. And I miss the pure aesthetic of Barbie. So a few weeks ago, my cousin Mark of Fashion, I'll put him up here, sent me the link for the new 12 Days of Halloween Barbie that just came out. And he sent it to me as the pre-order coming soon. I immediately fell in love with her, but there was that still nagging feeling in me like, I cannot buy $170 Barbie for myself for sitting on a shelf, especially since none of my Barbies are actually on display in this particular house. Partially because I have a child that I don't want destroying them, partially because I have a husky that I don't want destroying them, and partially because as a milspouse, we move way too often to have anything that I deem of value, whether it's valuable or not, in a box, out of a box, in a box, out of a box, in a box, out of a box. So they're all properly stored, except for my Morticia one, and put away in long-term storage. That way, when I eventually do have my forever home, I can have a room dedicated to my Barbie collection. I know my husband is already aware of this, but since I have to accept the fact that it's going to be his D&D collection on the next room over, you know, apparently even if I wanted to buy myself this doll, she was out of stock real quick. It's fine. This is fine. My consolation prize, however, is I'm just going to make the dress for me. Where am I going to wear it, you say? I'm going to wear it giving out Halloween candy to my trick-or-treaters, if that's what it takes. Doing a really thorough investigation, one of my favorite things to do, of Barbie's absolutely stunning black spider web laced overlay of a purple ball gown. She's so pretty. It's actually super easy to make. I'm going to make 3 things to obtain this look. We've got her dress, a wapsie belt, and a hat. I'm 99.9999999999999% positive that this dress is one piece, and that the wapsie belt, waist cincher is attached to the belt. It almost looks like the skirt comes out of that waistband seam. I, however, would much rather make the dress and the belt separate pieces. That's just me personally. That will give me a little bit more versatility with these pieces in my wardrobe in the future. I don't have purple fabric though, so I'm going to have to order it. In really close examining Barbie's dress here, you can see in the sleeve area that you can see her arm under the sleeve. And so it's something see-through. We're going to go with that. It has structure, so I'm leaning more towards either organza. I wouldn't do chiffon. Chiffon's not going to have the structure to hold up to that bishop sleeve. All right, let's do some fabric shopping. In doing a quick Google search, I think I found exactly what I want. Fabric Wholesale Direct. I've never ordered from them before, so I don't know how this is going to work out. But at under $5 a yard, they have purple cotton voile. That's got the exact same level of sheenness as Barbie's sleeves. So I think I'm going to take this risk and I'm going to order this. And then for the spiderweb lace overlay, I don't have to hunt the interwebs for this. I know exactly what I'm going to use. In fact, I saw it the last time I was grocery shopping. Spiderweb lace tablecloth, including, may I add, the absolute perfect pointy scalloped hemline that I need for this dress for $12.99. Sold. She's going in my shopping cart. Now let's talk pattern. As a member of the I own every single pattern on the planet club, I do not want to go out and buy a pattern. So I scoured the books that I have, and based on what I'm looking at, the dress itself looks really, really simple. Because my spiderweb tablecloth already has the scalloped edge for the base of my skirts, I don't have to hem it. And yay, that's one step done. However, that means I'm limited to a paneled skirt instead of a circle skirt or a gored skirt because those have rounded bottoms, and that's not going to work with my fabric choice. The other thing that I'm looking for is that lovely deep V to show off my cleavage, and I want to stick with that late 50s, early 60s vibe. So, instead of rating the patterns I already have, I'm going to my book collection because I know the queen of vintage patterns herself has the perfect V-neck bodice dress with a pleated skirt in one of her pattern books. So we're going to Gertie's Ultimate Book of Dresses. It doesn't look like much in this form, but I think the beauty of it is the fabric selection and the styling. It's a really, really simple dress. And then instead of these adorable little cap sleeves that she's got on the plaid rockabilly, we're going to do bishop sleeves. They're not that hard. For the waspy belt, I think I'm going to use the Simplicity pattern. I have used it before. It's really simple to make. I have plenty of black satin scraps lying about my storage facility, also known as the closet from hell. I'm pretty sure 3 gremlins live in there now. The hat. The hat is the sticking point for me. I genuinely don't want to make one. But if I have to, I will. It is basically, it's a simple high shine satin and buckle. She's pretty basic. I will check to see if there are any locally that I can tweak before I actually make. Okay. Break. All right, I just got the notification that my fabric was delivered, so let's go check it out and hopefully it works. Dun, dun, dun. You coming upstairs with me? You gonna come upstairs with me? Are you gonna come upstairs with me? Come on. No? Okay. Hello, Mia. You sure you don't want to go upstairs with me? Okay. We have fabric. Ugh. It actually arrived really quickly. I ordered it on Wednesday And today's Saturday, so yay. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to cut right into this so you get to have a little bit of ASMR of opening stuffs. I was also really excited to see that the shipping label is from Long Island, not far from where I grew up. So I thought that was really fun. Okay. Oh, here she is. She's purple. She's definitely purple. Oh, she's so pretty. Oh, and it's definitely sheer. You can see my arm through it. Okay. It's a little bit darker in the purple family than I'd hoped or wanted. But I'm not angry. Oh, she's pretty. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. All right, let's do some patterning. If you've never used one of Gretchen Hirsch's patterns before, they are all really designed to be interchangeable and swappable. Her goal is to make them as user-friendly as possible. The downside of all of her patterns is they regularly overlap, so you have no choice but to trace them onto something else. And so you can actually see here, like, lines are overlapping every which way. So I need the V-neck bodice, the basic sleeve, the pocket, and the pleated skirt. Now, the pleated skirt, I'm not going to bother tracing. I'm just kind of going to eyeball it since I'm elongating it anyway, and I probably want to make it fuller. The only thing I do want to note is that my box pleats and where I want to be able to put my pocket. Now that I've got all of my pattern pieces traced out, I need to turn this sleeve into a bishop sleeve. All right, let me shrink this down so you can actually see what I did. Here's what my basic sleeve looks like. To get your bishop sleeve, I know this seems scary, but we're gonna put some slices in it. Make sure to not go all the way up into your sleeve cap or accidentally cut through. We wanna keep our sleeve cap intact. And so we wanna spread this out as wide as we want our bishop sleeves, like so, and then retrace it just so that way we have a nice clean copy. And then on the bottom here, we're just connecting the dots. So now our sleeve looks like a little ghosty. And then once we put on a cuff that's fitted to our wrist, it'll cinch that in and be perfect. For my own personal anxiety prevention, I am absolutely making a mock-up. I've got a white sheet that I've just been working on for all of my mock-ups recently, so I haven't made this one before, so let's keep our fingers crossed that it works. So since I don't have anybody here to help me figure out if this fits or not, I sewed the back seam shut and left the side seam open, and that's gonna give me a better idea. And so I'm able to pinch those together comfortably. The thing that I do have a little concern about is that I can see the waistline go up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch at my horizon line, you know, because of the full cleavage. So I need to extend the front of this just a hair, 1/2 inch to 1 inch or so. I might also consider adding 1/4 inch here, but it feels like my seams are lining up. You tell me. Huh? And then when I hold it like taut, my center still feels okay. I think those are the only changes I'm going to make to my pattern. I could live in black spiderwebs all the time. I'm going to follow the Morgan Donner approach to figuring out how long I need my skirt length in order to not lose my hem. So this is the chalk line that I made. I'm gonna go on top of the chalk line so that I have seam allowance. And pray I have it right. And then after cutting off my skirt pieces, everything I have left is for my bodice. I am gonna have to put a little seam right here because it doesn't fit going this way, which it's fine. That's fine because almost all of this is going to be covered by the Wapsie belt anyway. For my purple panels, I'm cutting them the exact same dimensions as my spiderweb panels. I also just want to say these selvages are spectacular. So I'm going to use this as the bottom of my skirt and not bother hemming. And again, because this selvage is just so crispy, I'm using it as all of my important seams inside. So that way I don't have to even serge these. These are going to stay crispy. In not knowing how much of my purple voile to buy, I overbought. I'm already noodling what I think I want to do with it because I have a little over 4 yards left of it. So I think I'm going to make a shimmy celerin out of it. So stay tuned for that. I love getting multiple projects. Oh my gosh, that takes this from $35 to like $15. I used 3.5 yards to make this dress at $4 a yard. I've got about 1.5 yards of this crepeback satin in my stash left over from other projects. It's the perfect amount to make the waspy belt, the hat band, and the cuffs. I have all of my darts in. I have all of my lace basted to my fabric pieces. Everything is ironed, and so it really is just 1 seam, 2 seam, 3 seam, shoulder seams, attached sleeves, and then I think that that's having the bodice done is where I'm gonna call it a night. My bodice is assembled. All of my seams are done. After attaching the lining, I did some stay stitching along the edge there so that way it'll stay in place. Tomorrow my goal is sleeves and skirt and zipper, and that's it, and then it's done. And then hopefully if there's enough time I can move on to the waist cincher. There should be, because I think the bodice was really the hardest part of this whole thing. All right, it's 6 o'clock. I have to go be a mom and make dinner. Hi. Hello. I have company. This is the best company ever. Come on. Hurry up. Hurry up. Good job. Good job. You my co-host? You my co-host? Best co-host ever! Good morning. It is a gray, stormy, rainy day. At the very least, my objective today is to get the dress done. I'd like to get the waist stitcher belt started. I'd love to be able to do it in its entirety, but I don't know if I have that kind of time. That's entirely pending on everything going perfectly. We know that doesn't happen in this world, does it? All right. Great. So I am not having the mental capacity to do French seams on this wall. So instead what I did is a teeny tiny roll hem on all of my raw edges. So that way, before I sew it together, it'll keep it from fraying, and only you and I know. I am at the point where my skirt is assembled, pockets inserted, but I need to decide whether I'm doing all of these pleats as box pleats or knife pleats. Alright, my bodice is attached to my skirt. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. At this point, I need sleeves and zipper down the back. And then I can work on the waist cincher. My process for figuring out my sleeve cuffs is not very official. I took my scrap of black fabric and I just started pinning until I can get my hand in and out comfortably, and that's where I'm gonna sew it. I'm not gonna do more than that. Okay, my sleeves are on. My cuffs beautifully gathered. I did a stay stitch and whip stitch. Super easy. All right, all that is left is the zipper, and I'm gonna get started on the waist cincher because I don't have a zipper, and that means going to the store, and I don't want to go to the store, so I'll have to do that tomorrow. Now, I've already made this pattern for myself multiple times. I typically write down on the pattern what I've used it for, but so you can see I've done it 3 different times. That being said, I know I don't have to do any fittings, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out of my fabric and proceed. The 3 layers that I currently have cut out is I've got some purple cotton that I had scraps of in my stash. It's not a perfect match to my voile, but A, it'll do, and B, I'm the only one that's going to see the lining. I then also have my fashion layer, which is the same black crepe back satin that I used for the cuffs of the dress. And then for my interlining layers, whenever I'm making anything like a waist cincher or stays or a corset, I like to do a woven cotton of some sort. This particular one is ducked. It's also been pre-washed, so it's got a nice texture to it, but it'll give it structural integrity, waist support, back support, all of the things without adding too much to it because it is cotton. And so I've got this particular panel cut a little bit bigger. This is going to be that privacy panel that goes up the center in between the front, and I will perfect that peak shape once I know how big I actually need that privacy panel. All right, so that being said, this is actually a really straightforward pattern. It's just one seam, 2 seams, 3 seams, 4 seams, 5 seams. That's it. And I treat my interlining layer and my fabric layer as one when I'm sewing these seams. And then I incorporate my lining into that seam so that way all of my seams then can become my boning channels. So here's the order of my triple decker sandwich. It's interlining, fashion layer, interlining, lining, lining, and then this is all one seam. If you're new to doing this, then I would highly recommend basting first. Okay, I made a stomacher that comes to a little bit of a underbust peak right there. That'll go in the center like that. And then the top and the bottom I'll finish out in bias in the same matching satin. With my bias tape sewn to the outside of my waist cincher, all I have to do is a quick slippy stitch on the inside. But I'm calling it a night. It's well past quitting time, and I think I've made good progress. That leaves for tomorrow installing the zipper and making the hat and any other minutia that I still need to do, like grommets and etc. That's not awful for a to-do list. So I'm happy with my progress. All right. Good night. I finished off the inside of my bias tape with a very quick whip stitch. It's nice and secure, it's not going anywhere. And so now all I have to do to finish off my waist cincher is add my grommets. Good morning. It is day 3. I woke up to a crisp 60 degrees. Today is day 3 of construction, and all I have left to do is make the hat and all of the minor finishing touches. That's all I have to say about that. So I did have to actually go out and buy fabric to make the hat. I did not want to, but believe me when I say I did not have purple satin. I have purple everything else, but not purple satin. Justifiably, it was on sale for $7 a yard. And I probably could not have purchased a purple witch hat for less than $7. Trust me, I looked, and everything that I found, the underside of the brim was just either black or exposed foam, or it looked like I was gonna have to still do a whole lot of work to it, even if. So this was the route I chose. I also got a brooch for top of the hat. I could not find a belt buckle small enough or that didn't weigh a lot to add weight to the top of the hat. This was my next best solution. And a zipper. Now I can finally put the zipper in that. Okay, let's get this day going. The pattern that I'm using for my witch hat comes from ye olde Jaime database, formerly known as Joanne's. I don't know if the merchant Michael has uploaded it to their database yet. I believe they were starting to do so, but I don't know whether this is one that has made it or not. But there are plenty of witch hat patterns out there that are free. They're all pretty much the same basic shapes. That being said, I have 2 brim pieces in my fashion layers, 2 cone pieces in my fashion layers, and then I also have a set in cotton duct to act as structural support for the inside. I would have loved to use something a little lighter weight, like a buckram or something like that, but this is what we have, so this is what we're working with. I've got my cotton layer basted to my satin layer on this one, and I'm actually going to then sew everybody together like this. So this one's folded in half, and then this one's folded in half, and I'm going to do 1 seam just inside my basting stitches. That will keep all of the layers locked together and still allow me to flip it right side out. I'm going to be treating the hat brim in the exact same manner that I did with the cone. So I've got it, my 2 purple layers are face to face, and then my cotton. Now before I can flip this right side out, I have 2 things that I need to do. I'm actually going to go over this stitch line with some corset cording, and that'll give my brim some structural integrity so that it's not floppy. My corset boning is actually 4 cords woven together, and so what I'm going to do is separate them so that they're more pliable this way, and they'll bend in a circular direction. So now that I have my corset cording extracted from its sheathing, I can work them 2 at a time, and with a zigzag stitch I'm going to go over both cords simultaneously. I'm using my stitch line as my placement guide. In order to flip this right side out, now I need to either cut notches or go over it with pinking shears so that it has a zigzaggy edge, and that way it'll lay flat and smooth once it's right side out. With this turned right side out, I did do a top stitch around the outside, and I did baste and trim the inside. It is not sitting perfectly flat. I'm not offended by it, but at least it's not going to droop. I think I might have made my boning a little too tight. So next is to attach hat to brim. Okay, so while it seemed completely counterintuitive, I decided to sew this together with the seam actually on the outside, not on the inside, because The hatband is going to cover this, but then I don't have raw edges on the inside of my hat. My hatband is the same crepe back satin that I just took a 4-inch bias strip of, sewed it together, right sides together, flipped it out so that I have a big long noodle. And that's going to get slip stitched right there over all of my raw edges. And then I can sew that button right on top. To insert my grommets, I use my hole puncher. I slide up the shaft of the punch. I then put my grommet on the shaft of the punch, like so. And then I slide my fabric off onto my grommet at once. And then I use my grommet setter to squeeze it in place. All of my finishing touches are done, so I will see you guys in the reveal. Ta-da! I don't like staying up until 11 o'clock at night doing my hair and makeup so that I can do a dark shoot. So I had a lot of fun making this one. It is definitely a classic staple that I think is going to find itself in my Halloween wardrobe. It's very lightweight and floofy, so I did end up wearing 2 cotton petticoats underneath this to get some of the floof. But they were not like super floofy petticoats. I definitely would have liked having a lot more voluminous petticoat happening, but I can't complain. For the dress itself, I genuinely don't think that there's anything that I want to change other than I should have planned for super floofy petticoats. I'm not in love with the hat. I don't know what's happening here. So I either have a cowboy witch or a droopy drunk witch. I'm not sure which. Which is which? I might either just leave it as a display piece because it looks great sitting on my mannequin, or I may take the brooch off and put that on a different, if I can find a similar shade of purple pre-made witch hat. I definitely love working with this cotton voile. Here's how I equate this. It's got the prettiness of organza, but the manners of cotton. Huh? All right, guys. I had a great time this week. I hope you did too. If you are still sticking around by the end of this one, then I hope you've hit that like and subscribe button. And I will see you guys next week.